Rahul, thank you very much. It's great to have you on the Frankly Speaking show today. Thank you very much indeed. It's been 10 years as an MP for you. You fought your first election in 2004. And this is your first TV interview? Your first interview?
Well, it's not my first interview, but it's my first formal interview of this.
So now that this is your first detailed and long interview, Rahul, in 10 years, we have a lot of ground to cover.
Sure.
So I have one request to you right at the start, that let's be as specific as possible on the subjects that we deal with today. Do I have your agreement on that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll be specific, but if I would like to sort of explain things in a broader fashion, I think
okay,
that would be okay with you guys. Yeah.
And if I want to draw you back into specifics?
So you can draw me back as much as you want.
Okay. Are you avoiding a direct face-off with Narendra Modi? Is there a fear of loss, Rahul? Because this election, frankly, is not looking very good for the Congress party from overall estimates. Let's answer that now.
To understand that question, you have to understand a little bit about what Rahul Gandhi is and what Rahul Gandhi's circumstances have been. And if you delve into that, you'll get an answer to the question of what Rahul Gandhi is scared of and what he's not scared of. Real question, right, is what I'm doing sitting here. When you were small, you must have thought to yourself, I want to do something, right? You decided to become a journalist at some point. Why did you do that?
You're asking me the question.
I'm asking you the question. When, you know, in our mythology, when they talk about Arjun, he only sees one thing. He doesn't see anything else. You asked me about Mr. Modi, you asked me about anything. I only see one thing. And the thing I see is that the system in this country needs to change. I don't see anything. I'm blind to everything else.
Yeah. I will go into those areas, and I respect what you're telling me about your personal journey. It's not, Rahul, as if I lack empathy for what you're saying. Yeah. In fact, I'm sure many people do. But my question to you is, Narendra Modi calls you a Shehzada. Now let's be very specific, Rahul. Narendra Modi calls you a Shehzada. What is your view of Narendra Modi? A. B. Are you afraid of losing to Narendra Modi? Rahul, please answer my question as specifically as you can.
What Rahul Gandhi wants to do is Rahul Gandhi and millions of youngsters in this country want to change the way the system in this country works. What Rahul Gandhi wants to do is empower the women in this country, wants to unleash the power of these women. I mean, we talk about being a superpower.
You're avoiding my question.
No, I'm not avoiding it. I have spoken about the Lokpal bill, and I have pushed the Lokpal bill. I was involved in the RTI. We worked together to bring the RTI. The question is that our system is based on different pillars. And the question is, which ones of these pillars should have RTI? Because if you only put RTI into one pillar and you don't have RTI in, for example, the judiciary and the press and in other areas, then you might create an imbalance. Am I for opening up? Am I for bringing RTI into as many places as possible? Absolutely. Am I for creating an imbalance and weakening the legislative structures of this country? No, I'm not.
How does placing politicians, how does putting political parties under the purview of the Right to Information Act, how does that actually weaken the legislative process? It brings in transparency.
No, it brings in transparency, but it changes the balance of power.
How?
Because the judiciary does not have RTI, the press does not have RTI, other components of the system do not have RTI.
The press does not rule the country.
But the press, okay, the judiciary does not have RTI. So you have to have a strategy to put RTI and open the system together.
But you're willing to let a discussion happen on bringing political parties under the RTI? Of course I am. You're not opposed to that?
No, I'm not opposed to any discussion, ever. But
no, on this specific subject?
No, on all subjects. But one has to take care that one is not creating imbalances in the system. And that's something that one has to discuss.
Mr. Gandhi, do I sense that you were almost committing yourself and then pulled back?
No. I've said that I'm happy to have a discussion.
You're happy to have a discussion?
Of course.
on bringing political parties under RTI?
Absolutely. Okay. Let me just go back and let me give you a little. Let me go further than that. I think women are the backbone of this country. I think women need to be empowered. There's a process, there's a legal process, and that process is on. And I've said it, and I will say it again. There's a process, there's a legal process, and that process is on. And I've said it, and I will say it again. We have got you RTI. I have to change the way the system works. And I've said it, and I will say it again. I think there are basically three things that one needs to do. One is changing the way we do politics here. Getting away from superficialities, getting away from the small issues and moving deeper into the issues, right? Questioning the system, changing the system. Things like RTI, things like Lokpal, things like questioning how we choose candidates, things like bringing youngsters into policy, right? The second is empowering the women of this country. Really bringing them into the system, really pushing them forward. And the third is using the energy of the youth of this country.
Please, ra. ఈ మూడు ఒకటే కదరా ఈ మూడు కాకుండా ఇంకోటి ఏదైనా చెప్పు
Heart of heart, are you a politician?
The issue you're talking about India. We've had a 1 hour conversation here. You haven't asked me one question of how we are going to actually build this country, how we're going to take this country forward. You haven't asked me one question on how we're going to empower our people. You haven't asked me one question.
If I was to know that, I'd hear
what we're going to do for youngsters. You're not interested in
Rahul Gandhi interview.
So all I'm saying is that as youngsters, as serious politicians, one has to ask the fundamental questions. The fundamental questions in this election is, are we going to open up the system? Are we going to close the system? What is going to be the role of women in India going forward? How are we going to get jobs for youngsters in this country? You asked me a whole bunch of questions.
Yes, I did.
You didn't ask me once about how we're going to get jobs for youngsters in this country. You didn't ask me once about what are we going to do for women in this country. I'm going to tell you what I think.
But Mr. Rahul Gandhi, if I was to do that, I would listen to Rahul Gandhi's speeches. I said, this is an interview. I'm getting an opportunity to ask you specific questions. You call my specific questions. I don't have thick skin. Mr. Rahul Gandhi, politicians need to have thick skin. And Mr. Gandhi, can I say
if I don't have a thick skin right now, it will get thick.
Can I tell you one thing? I tell you one thing, Mr. Gandhi. Yeah, say you're a serious politician. I assure you, Mr. Gandhi, I'm a very serious journalist.
The real issue is, I didn't choose to be born in this family. I didn't sign up and say, listen, I'd like to be born in this family. It happened. So the choice in front of me is pretty simple. I can either turn around and say, okay, listen, I'll just walk away from this thing and leave it alone. Or I can say, I can try and improve something.